Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we are looking at the brand new Delta-17 War in the Shadows O-ring figures. I'm very excited for these. I haven't had like new O-ring figures in a long time. I had remakes of the G.I. Joe O-ring figures, but this feels different. This feels pretty exciting. I got two. I chose to go with the Troop Builders to get the vibe of the line. I'm They're going to do a comic book, and I'm really looking forward to the comic book, which will give us more lore and kind of fill out the world a little bit more. But I went with the Delta Squad figure, the D-17 or the Delta-17 infantry figure, who is a troop builder. Now you can get this figure in two different skin tones. So that's kind of cool. If you're army building, you don't have to have them all look exactly the same. And then on the other side, I have the Okami robot ninja from the Dark Shadows faction. So I got a good guy and a bad guy. So pretty excited. Let's take a look at the packaging. I'm going to start with the Delta-17 infantry figure. So we get this nice card back. Feels very similar to like G.I. Joe size card back. You get the bubble on the same side. Like there's a lot of nostalgia going on here. And you get the accessories up in the bubble as well. Some nice artwork there. The faction symbol down below. And the big logo up top, Delta-17 War in the Shadows. I really like that logo. I'm gonna have to hit those guys up for a t-shirt, I think. And then on the back we get the full Delta-17 team shot there, with all the main characters as well as the troopers. And I got the darker skin trooper. We get the bio down there. Now, if you want to read that, feel free to pause this and read it. It's probably on their website as well, which is delta17toys.com. I will put that in the description below, so you don't have to pause this and read it. You can read it yourself. But there you go. You get the full list of all the different characters in Delta-17, as well as the Dark Shadows figures and the Retrograd figures. So you get the good guys on one side, you get the bad guys on the other side. Simple packaging, but very effective in my opinion. So there you go. That is the Delta Squad figure there. Now the Okami, being that he is the ninja, gets the ninja treatment there. The really cool robot ninja look. I'm kind of digging, the one eye, the mono eye, and then the sort of lit up slit. I know that you can't really get the same look in a figure, but I wish it kind of lit up like it does on the art. But it looks really cool on the art there, which I really like. And on the back of this one, of course, because this is a bad guy, you get the bad guy art. You get the same sort of call outs to all the characters on either side, and then you get a bio card there as well. And again, feel free to pause it or don't. One other thing that I will mention is that both the Delta Squad Trooper as well as this Okami figure come with sort of a features list. So it actually lists, what you get in the box as far as accessories and things like that, which is kind of a cool touch because it kind of explains some of what this stuff is as well. So make sure you take a minute to read those when you get your figures in hand as well. But I mean, we don't buy these to keep them in the box. So let's take a look at these outside of the box. So here they are out of the box. And my first impression is that these are fantastic figures. These are really well made. They're really well done. The sculpting is great. There was a couple cool surprises in terms of articulation. One thing that I'm not super excited about articulation-wise, but I'm hoping that that's sort of a first-run thing and definitely something that can be fixed, can be alleviated, can be changed on the fly. But very first impressions, very good. Overall, these figures look and feel fantastic. The paint apps are phenomenal. There's certainly nothing that I have to complain about, you know, style wise and design wise. You get all the articulation that you're sort of used to if you've ever handled vintage O-ring GI Joes. You know, like it feels so familiar. Like even the articulation that you get in the head, you know, the way that it can move and sort of how it feels in hand, feels like a GI Joe. It feels like a vintage GI Joe figure, which is really really cool. It's a really nice surprise. All the joints move very nicely, very smoothly. Nothing was tight. Nothing was sort of odd. I don't feel like I need to heat these up or anything like that, which I think is one of those things where we get used to modern action figures needing some heat and stuff like that. Now, one of the surprises for me, this arm straight out of the box was on backwards, but the hand was right. Oh, I just spoiled the surprise. The hand was right, but the elbow was backwards, and I was like, "Oh no, that's odd. That doesn't make any sense. Like, how's that gonna work?" I didn't realize that that there's a rotation at the wrist, so I rotated the elbow around the correct way, and then I rotated the hand. Having rotation in the wrist is a really really nice bonus to me, and I'm very excited about that because it means that, you know, they can hold their weapons a little bit better than vintage Joes can. Now, like I said, I do have one issue with this figure. This leg will go up, you know, about that high. It's not all the way, you know, as far as I think most vintage Joes would go. I think a vintage Joe's leg will go up a little bit further than that. But this one won't go up. So that's like as high as I can get that to go. You know, and then from that angle, it's probably a little bit better, you know, relative to the waist. I don't know if something doesn't fit right or if something's not installed correctly on this guy as far as the T-bar or the O-ring or something like that. But I can't get that leg to go, and I don't really want to force it because I don't want to break it. But other than that, as I said, you know, you get that very familiar, and there's the O-ring in there. I mean, it really is an O-ring figure. I'm very, very excited. And, you know, nice tight joints, tight knees, tight elbows, no elbow cracks, like all the things that that you sort of think about when you talk about vintage Joes. Now the Okami figure is the same. You know, you get the same articulation that you do with a vintage Joe. You get it's got to feel like a bat, you know, a battle android trooper, and rightfully so. I know the interesting thing with this is, of course, these hands come off, which will make sense later when we get into the accessories. But I'm not typically a big fan of black and red deco. I feel like it's a cop out. I feel like it's a little bit cheap sometimes. Now I know that nobody agrees with me, and that's fine. I just feel like black and red is such an easy combo that it just doesn't really do much for me. But this figure looks fantastic, and the use of black and red on this, sort of overlaid over top of gray, makes it look really really good. And I'm sort of I've been won over by this figure. You know, I said that it would be cool if it had sort of a glow to the red for the eye, and you can't really do that. But I mean, like the paint apps all in all look really clean, really crisp. You can see all the detail. I mean, he's got this metal sort of robotic armor that the light's picking up a little bit of, but you get these darts that are painted really well, and then on either leg you get the sai, you get the throwing stars. Just really really cool design in terms of this figure, and I'm really really digging it. So yeah, Robot Ninja, I'm down, man. And it's got cool, like it's got the ankles kind of look like a ninja like wrap, you know. They're thinner. It's thinner down here than it is on the other trooper, so that's I think that's a cool feature in terms of the design to make him look a little more ninja. Now I don't know if that was sort of, he's a robot, so he has mechanical robot ankles and he doesn't need as much space because there is sort of like a bolt sort of pivot there. But yeah, looks really really good. And I will mention that both of the legs on this one go up as high as that the trooper's legs did. So that one just seems like an oddity. Maybe it's a one-off, maybe it's a QC thing, I don't know. But generally the articulation in these is very, very good. You get 90 at the single jointed elbow, but you do get that swivel in the wrist, and his arm will go nice and high as well. And yeah, like I said, just really, really good figures. Feel good in hand. Feel really stable, really sturdy in hand. But what really makes these guys shine is the accessories. They got some really cool things going on with the accessories. So let's take a look at the accessories. Starting off with the trooper, starting off with both of them, we get a figure stand, which is nice. I mean, it's nice to be able to get a figure stand. These have nicely designed and sculpted into them the Delta-17 logo. They got one peg for the foot to stand on. Very simple, but very effective. As you can see, the figures don't need them at all, but it's always nice to get them. I think, if you're going to sort of display them and leave them, having that peace of mind that they're on a stand is quite nice. So there you go. You got the stand. That's a good start. And then we get the backpack. Now the backpack has a bunch of pegs to mount things on. You've got that. A lot of these sort of feel really familiar. No paint on the backpack, but I didn't really expect it to have that. This feels like a vintage G.I. Joe figure. So it has paint where I would expect it, and it doesn't have paint where I wouldn't expect it. We get this sort of bazooka rocket launcher type of deal here. Very simple design, but very, very effective. It is open on one end, and I will mention that we get 3 of these little rockets, or rocket-propelled grenades. I don't know what they are. I'm not a military guy. I don't know anything about that. But these fit in there and will sit nicely. And as I said, we got 3 of those. So there's the other 2. We get this nice little knife, and I say little, but I mean, really, this is about as big as some of the G.I. Joe classified knives that I've seen recently. They seem to make them smaller and smaller, but it's really well sculpted. It's got everything you would want in terms of detail, even at this very small scale. So very, very impressed by that as well. We got, I can only assume this is a gas mask of some sort, which is really, really nice. Again, the good sculpting, the vents, there's just little details that for a first run of figures, first wave, I'm very, very impressed with the level of detail and what they've done. And this is actually going to peg onto the figure really nicely. And when I get there to sort of, I'll show you what I mean. We get a weapon here as well that the sculpting's really nice. It's relatively simple, but I mean, it's a small scale, so I can appreciate that. Another thing that I appreciate, they didn't sort of, they didn't sculpt the handle, which means that it's going to fit in the hand better. I think sometimes people overdo that detail a little bit sometimes, and then it makes it hard to get in and out of a figure's hand. So I actually appreciate that they didn't bother doing that. I say it, I'm sure they chose not to do that, not that they didn't bother, because everything else is sculpted. There's the attention to detail is really good. Everything else is sculpted. All the little details. The weapon is asymmetrical. Like one side doesn't look the same as the other. So I'm not suggesting that they skipped that or anything like that. It looks really, really good. And then as far as the Robot Ninjas accessories go, we get a backpack, a black backpack as well. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here as well. We will get to that when I go through the rest of his accessories, or its accessories. We get 2 swords, full-length swords. Again, sculpted well. The blade is sculpted, so it's not just a boring flat blade. There's actually some shape to it, reminiscent of you know, an actual sword. So good on them for adding the details there. I'm really digging this figure. At first, I kind of thought, ninja robot, like what's the big deal? But it's really cool. Then we got these, and these are a little bit different. It is a blade, and again, it's shaped and it's sculpted, and the details are really, really nice, but it's got this sort of end on it, which, well, you'll find out in a minute why it has that. Now, this guy comes with a gun of some sort as well, and it has that same end to it. Now, there is a hole in the end. So remember I mentioned that the hands come off of this figure? Well, the hands come off and the weapons go on. So you can either put that gun on there, or you can put the blade on there. So super cool, super fun. You know, however you want your robot ninja assassin to slice and dice up the trooper. You can either do sword in hand, or you can do sword as hand, which is pretty cool. And the backpacks I mentioned, you know, have a bunch of pegs and a bunch of things going on. This backpack actually separates into two pieces. So you get that standard sort of X-shaped, and when I looked at the back of this, I was like, oh, that's weird. It's got like the X shape on there as well. But this actually separates. So this guy can travel light if you want. So if you want to just have, you know, the two swords or two blades or whatever on his back, that will plug into the back as well. Just like that, or this one separately. So, you know, you can kind of set them up however you like. You know, different options, as I said. And there's some sculpting going on here that I'm not 100% sure about. Like there's pegs on here, and I don't know if they're just cosmetic. When I talk to the boys about Delta-17 soon, I'm definitely going to be asking about that, because I need to know. I need to know if there's a reason that it's sculpted that way or not, whether it's just coincidental. I don't think it's coincidental. I think there may be something going on there that I'm just not aware of. So anyways, the backpacks are really great because they can carry everything. So I don't know if I'm going to get this right or not, but just sort of based on my first impressions of sort of how this stuff should fit, or sort of how I want it to fit. Like I said, I don't know if this is the correct way or not, but you can get all the accessories mounted on this backpack, and I think that's pretty cool. And everything fits nice and snug. Nothing feels loose. Nothing feels like it's going to fall out or fall off. And that is really impressive to me, that you can get all of that, and then it's going to plug into the back, and it's nice and snug in the back. It doesn't feel like all the tolerances are perfect. It's not like even with vintage GI Joes, you sort of felt like you were forcing it, like you were going to break the thing. And it's nicely balanced. He's on a stand, so it doesn't really matter, but there you go. He can carry all of his gear. This guy is the same. Now, like I said, this mask, I'm going to show you. I noticed on the back of the helmet that there's two little indents, like, and I couldn't quite figure out why, but it's because this mask is going to fit over his face. So there you go. So the little holes on the back there, it's going to fit nicely in there. And it's going to cover the face quite nicely. It's not as snug a fit as I thought it might be, but it's not going anywhere. I don't like it as much with the mask on, but that's okay, because I can just put it in the backpack. that'll just tuck away nicely in the back of the backpack, just like that. Like I said, these guys thought of everything. The grenade launcher with a grenade in it will go on the backpack like so. I can mount the other two grenades, rockets, whatever these are. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be calling them, but I'm going to call them rockets because it's more fun. The knife will slot into the side of the backpack as well. Now it seems to fit a little bit better with the blade sort of facing towards the back. And the weapon, I can't figure out if it'll fit on the backpack. I feel like it might still be able to fit on the backpack, even though I can't figure out where. But like I said, you get a very, very secure fit when you plug that into his back. And then, as I said, the shape of the hand works really well with the shape of the weapon. And there you go. So that's... you got very, very comfortable, secure hold on the weapon there as well. So there they are, all set up with their gear, looking awesome. Again, as I said, the accessories on these guys are phenomenal. The sculpt is really, really good. The attention to detail is very, very impressive. And as I said, for sort of a first run, you know, out of the gate, I'm very, very impressed with these. Okay, so I'm messing around with this. Duh, obviously. When you take the hands off, you can plug them on. That's what the pegs are for. All right, so overall, these are fantastic figures. These are a ton of fun. They're probably more fun than I thought they were going to be. I have kind of moved away from O-ring figures. I've been selling off my vintage Joes, but I feel like I want more of these Delta-17 figures. Maybe I'm not a G.I. Joe O-ring collector, but these Delta-17s are pretty impressive. Now, if you are a vintage G.I. Joe collector, I think these are definitely something that you will be into. If you are sort of getting into this O-ring renaissance, with all these different lines that are coming out with O-ring figures, Delta-17 better be at the top of your list because these are really, really good. As I said, you know, what they're doing with the accessories, what they're doing with the designs, what they're doing with everything is really, really good. As I said, I'm super impressed by these. I had to pay for these, so it's not as though I'm trying to kiss ass or anything like that. I'm telling it like it is. These are really impressive and really, really fun little figures. Now, shout out to Ken and Steve, who were nice enough to basically let me buy these early, so that I could get them in hand and get a review up before these sort of go live. But as I said, you know, if you're into the O-ring stuff, definitely look into some Delta-17 stuff. You will not be disappointed. These are great figures, and I very much look forward to, like I said, the comic book that's coming up, as well as more figures down the line. I think I may have to get a few more of these because they exceeded my expectations. Delta-17 has done a very, very good job with the first wave. Go out and get some of your own. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please do that. And if you don't want to miss any future videos, please hit the bell icon for notifications. Until next time, bye-bye.